Beautiful space for us. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce to you a fellow from the Hauenstein Center's Peter C. Cook Leadership Academy. At each Hauenstein Center event, a CLA student is invited to share their personal reflections on leadership with our audience. And this evening, we are joined by Hannah Hosfeld. Hannah is a dedicated first-year educator and second-year fellow with the Cook Leadership Academy, where she currently serves as lead fellow. She's passionate about leadership, service, and educational equity. Hannah brings a wealth of knowledge in special education, advocacy, and community engagement to her work. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Elementary and Special Education and is currently pursuing a Master's of Education in Autism Spectrum Disorder. In her free time, Hannah serves as president of the Michigan Council for Exceptional Children Student Board and is an active advocate through the Legislative Advocacy and Action Committee. Through her role as a special educator and community volunteer, Hannah continues to champion inclusive practices and empower others through mentorship and leadership development. And as a lead fellow, she is honored to support the growth of emerging leaders and contribute to the legacy of the Peter C. Cook Leadership Academy. Friends, please join me in welcoming Hannah.
Thank you, Kyle, for that warm welcome. As Kyle mentioned, my name is Hannah Hosfeld. I'm a special education teacher and a lead fellow in the Peter C. Cook Leadership Academy. It's a true honor to be here tonight among people who, just by being in this room, show a shared commitment to a more just and compassionate world. As I reflect on my leadership journey here, I think about where it began, not with a title, but with a responsibility. The responsibility to show up for my students, for my community, and for people whose voices often go unheard. The CLA has shaped me into a leader that understands that leadership is not about status, but it's about presence. It's about using your voice, not just to speak, but to listen. And more than anything, it's about noticing who isn't at the table and making sure that there's a seat for them. As an educator, my leadership begins in the classroom. Every day I work to shape not just successful students, but ethical and empathetic humans. Young people who are learning to lead with equity in mind and who are learning to advocate for others as fiercely as they are learning to advocate for themselves. Tonight's conversation asks us to reflect on the roles of faith, class, and poverty in fighting and education in fighting poverty. And I believe that one of those most powerful battlegrounds is our public schools. Because poverty isn't abstract. It walks into school with our students every day. It looks like students who are struggling to focus because they're hungry. It looks like a parent that cannot make parent-teacher conferences, not for lack of investment, but because they're working beyond hard to provide for their family. It looks like big behaviors that are a result of things that are much more serious than academics. For my students with disabilities, the impact of these things is often compounded with navigating complicated healthcare systems, limited resources, and constant reminders that the world isn't always built with them in mind. I believe deeply that learning can't happen without basic needs being met. And before we talk about reading levels or test scores, we must ask, does this child feel safe? Does this child feel seen? The organizations and the individuals that you're healed from tonight are essential. They're a first wave of support, and we need to partner with them. Government, philanthropy, schools, communities, individuals, all of us in this room have a role in disrupting the cycles that provide families with this struggle. So I leave you with this. Find your battleground. Maybe it's a classroom. Maybe it's a city council. Maybe it's your church or your neighborhood. Wherever it is, show up, speak up, and make sure that there's space for others to do the same. Because if we want a truly more moral, ethical, and just society, it starts with how we treat the most vulnerable. And that work begins with us, in classrooms like mine, in communities like yours, and in rooms like this one. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can we just take one more moment to give Hannah another round of applause? As you all know, one of our signature programs is the Peter C. Cook Leadership Academy. And every time that we have someone like Hannah on stage, we are able to tangibly see what the work that we do for that academy means for the students who are in it, but also for our community at large. And every time I see it, I tend to even get a little choked up, right? Because we see the leaders that we're putting out into our communities, and it's just a really special thing. So thanks for what you're doing, Hannah, and thanks for setting the stage so lovely for our conversation tonight. So again, as mentioned, my name is Megan Radecki. I am pleased to serve as your director at the Helm